Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Touch Grass, the podcast where we stop overthinking and start living. I'm your host, Wishdan Jamari, and today we're diving into something that's been on my mind quite a lot lately. And I know that I say that a lot, but really, I've been toying around with this quite a lot. The connection between bold decisions and how they shape the narrative of our lives. We often spend so much time in our heads worrying if we're making the right move, air quotes, the right move, and questioning every choice we make. But what if one decision, just one, could completely change your story? What if the bold choice you're avoiding is the key to the next chapter in your life? So today's episode is all about risk taking, showing up as your best self, and how your life story is shaped by the choices you make. We're going to talk about how narrative psychology theory explains why we are the authors of our lives and why making bold decisions is an essential part of the plot. So, in actuality, the title of this episode is called It's for the Plot. The Power of One Decision. Let's start with a question. What's the one decision you've made in your life that changed everything? It could be a big one, like moving to a new city, starting a business, or speaking up in a moment when you would have otherwise stayed silent. Or it could be a smaller decision that set off a chain of events you never really saw coming. But here's the thing, sometimes we think we're stuck in a pattern of choices that define us. We believe we don't have the power to change our story, that we're just playing out a script that's already been written. But I'm here to tell you that that is not true. In narrative psychology, which is a principle I've been practicing a lot and a lot lately, it's something that I have adopted every single day in my life. And it actually started in 2024. I just started telling myself, you know what, it's for the plot. Whether it, was successful or it failed, it's for the plot. Because for so long, I felt like I was living somebody else's story and not fully embracing the fact that I am the creator of my story. It's my life to live. I'm not a side character in somebody else's story. And so by taking the reins of that, I started reading up a little bit more and more about narrative psychology, which is why I actually want to share it with you guys today, because people don't realize how much power you claim towards yourself when you start living this way. So, in narrative psychology, we believe that our identities are shaped by the stories we tell about ourselves. We're all authors of our own lives, and each decision, each action is part of the ongoing narrative. But here's the catch, when we stay safe, when we don't take risks, we're essentially choosing to keep our story on repeat. We don't push the plot forward in any shape or form. So this is when I started adopting the what if principle, right? So the what if principle, because people are more negatively inclined, they tend to go with the what if it goes horribly wrong. We think of the worst case scenario in order to make ourselves feel better. But does it ever actually make you feel better? Do you ever actually feel like, that was ridiculous. Why would I even think that? If anything, it just creates more and more anxiety. So I flipped the script. I started thinking, what if it works out? From that first line of what if it works out, I start to create positive outcomes for myself instead of the negative. Because when I create the, because either one is unknown, right? So why do we put all of our emphasis on the unknown of negativity when we could actually just be putting all of our emphasis on the unknown of positivity? So flip the script. This is my challenge to you guys, and the challenge is coming early, but I really want you guys to sit with this and think, what if it works out? What if it works out? What if, I get the position? What if I actually make a change? What if this happens? What if that happens? And so you start to create these positive thoughts. And if anything, it just higher your vibration. Like you start operating as if like this is the perfect decision to make. This is really because like, oh my word, there are so many possibilities. So, what if one bold move could push your plot into an entirely new direction? What if stepping out of your comfort zone, saying yes to something scary, something unknown, could lead to an entirely new chapter in your life? In narrative psychology, the stories we tell ourselves aren't fixed. Can you see what I'm talking about? The unknown. Nothing's fixed. The negative is not fixed, neither is the positive. They're dynamic and ever evolving, and you have the ability to rewrite your script with each new choice you make. The question we often forget to ask ourselves is, what if it works out? We get so stuck in fearing failure or making the wrong decision that we overlook the possibility that this could be the turning point, the scene that changes everything. You know that scene before the montage? That scene in the movie where you just feel elevated, you feel motivated, you feel empowered. You're just like, oh, this character is going to, like, this is it. This is their season 3. So it's that scene that changes everything. Like I said, imagine a movie. If the protagonist never took risks, the story would be so boring. It's like when my mom always used to tell me, you know, when you're sitting watching a horror movie and you're looking at the screen and you're telling them, go in that direction, and they don't because they never do. And then you're sitting there and you're watching, and you're like, oh, you know, this character is so dumb. But if they had to go in that direction, the movie would be over. So like what movie would they be to watch? Think of your life in the same way. If somebody had to be sitting on the couch watching your movie, would they be enjoying it right now? Can you see where the it's for the plot comes in? The plot would suck in neutral, but when the protagonist takes that leap, that's when the magic happens. That is why we live vicariously through movies. That is why we live vicariously through these characters that we don't even know. But yet, it's something inside of ourselves that's calling us to make that decision. And the more we prolong it, the more resentful we become, the more complacent we become, and the more comfortable we become. And let me tell you this, I live by this code. The only constant in life is change. The only constant in life is change. Nature changes. We change, we evolve, we elevate. And if you're not doing that for every year on year on year, every year looks exactly the same, you're doing the same thing over and over again, what growth is there? So that, like, take that moment, that scene before your montage of life, and make that choice, because I promise you it's going to set your world on fire. Like, you are going to feel like a brand new person, and that's the point. You're supposed to feel like a brand new person. You're supposed to feel like you're in a whole new timeline, because you quite literally are. And then this is where you start to embrace main character energy, owning your narrative. Okay, so let's talk about how to be the main character of your story. In narrative psychology theory, it suggests that we can actively construct our own life stories. Actively construct our own life stories. I say this again, actively construct our own life stories. In other words, we aren't just passive observers of our lives. We are participants, creators, and editors of our narratives. If you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to take charge of the plot. That means showing up, speaking up, taking inspired action, even when you're not sure of the outcome. And you know what? That's the best part, because the plot will unfold for you. And because you've already taken charge of your plot, you get to make the decisions from here on out. You're not allowing somebody else to make the decisions for you because you don't feel a sense of confidence in yourself. This is where the main character syndrome comes in relation to the narrative psychology theory, in relation to the plot, because you become so confident in your decision making skills that nobody else can sway you from the journey that you're on, the path that you're on. Because as the author of your own life, you don't need to wait for permission from anyone to make a change. You don't need a perfect script or a flawless plan. You just need to take the first step. Your decisions, no matter how small, can change the direction of your entire narrative. Every risk you take is a new scene, a new chapter with new characters that add depth and excitement to your story. And I really want to touch on this new characters thing, because I now go through life understanding that when you grow out of friendship with certain people, and you know how we've touched on the energy vampires, and you've kind of like remove that energy from your life, because for so long we didn't have that main character energy. We felt like we were of service to everybody else but ourselves. When you step into this plot of your own, when you become the main character of your own story, you start to also identify the characters in your story that you were living for them and you weren't living for yourself. Essentially, what you're doing is creating space for the new characters to come in. Have you ever gone through life? You know, you go through primary school, you go through high school, you go through university or college, you start a new job. In those moments, you start to see new characters, right? And that's the point. With every phase in life, with every decision, with every new chapter, with every new scene in your series of life, you welcome in new characters. And that's the path of evolution. It doesn't mean that you guys had a falling out, or, sometimes you just grow and that's okay. And the people who celebrate your growth and celebrate your change, those are your for lifers. Those are people that are there for the entire ride. They're going to see you through every phase of life. And I'm so fortunate to have friendships like this. They've seen me in primary school, in high school, in university, as a mother, as a business owner, as a corporate worker. They've seen me in literally every phase of life. And those are the people who are your for lifers, because they are so okay with seeing you grow, with seeing you become new characters, with seeing you take charge of your life and make the necessary decisions for your story and celebrate your story the same way that you celebrate theirs. So, this is where we get into the courage to change the plot. Here's what you might not realize. By avoiding the decisions that scare you, you're actually doing your story a disservice. And this is the God honest truth. This is gospel right here. If you're not willing to take risks or challenge yourself, you'll find that your narrative becomes predictable. But life isn't meant to be predictable. It's meant to be lived, explored, and yes, written with courage. What if the new chapter of your life starts today? What if this decision you're unsure about is the one that propels you into a future you've been dreaming of? So, the truth is, we only ever get one shot at this. And the more you hesitate, the more you allow fear to control your choices, the more your plot feels stuck in the same old loop. But don't forget that you can change that. You can change that. So, here's my challenge to you. What's your next bold move? What's the one decision you've been overthinking that could change the course of your entire story? Remember, you're the author here. You're not a passive character in someone else's story. You're the main character. This is your moment. This is your life. When you are lying on your deathbed at the end of the day, when you're in your autumn season, what are you going to look back on? What are the memories that you're going to be like? Are you going to be like, oh, I wish I had gone bungee jumping. Like, I've always wanted to do it, but you know what? I've always been too scared. Like, was that really a life well lived? Because at the end of the day, are you really just surviving, or are you actually living? Are you living? So just take a deep breath, trust yourself, and make that decision, even if it scares you. Do it scared. Do it full of fear and anxiety. Just do it. Just, like Nike, just do it. Just do it, guys. Even if you're not sure what happens next, because one decision could change everything. And you know what? It's all for the plot. Like me and my girlies like to say, it's for the plot. It's for your series. It's for your movie. It's for your narrative. It's for the plot. It's for the plot, guys. So, what's your next bold move? What's that one decision you've been overthinking that could have changed the entire course of your story? And always remember that you are the creator of your reality. You are the author of your story. You're the director. You're the creative director. You're the moment. Thanks for listening to Touch Grass. Don't forget to touch grass, guys. Please go and touch grass, because that is where you'll get your clarity. But anyway, didn't cover that in this one, but you know what I'm going to say. Go and touch grass. And thank you for listening to Touch Grass. If this episode inspired you to make a move, let me know in the comments. As usual, engage with me. Let me know what your epiphanies are, what your heart is feeling right now. And remember, life is too short to play it safe. So go and make some bold choices.